NAIA football is the true version of what college football is supposed to be. And it is the best classroom experience an 18 to 22-year-old male can have. One of the most valuable parts of a college education is that experience. It's life in a microcosm, and it's just something special for a young man to have to experience.
And don't you let a moment go without thinking about what's there for you to reach out and grasp.
This is NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. I'm your host, Jason Dannelly. Again, we appreciate you coming into a special Tuesday edition of NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley as we break down all the biggest NAIA football games for the week. Slightly different format this week. We're not going to do all the big recap and stuff because, frankly, it's Tuesday. That's old news. You're already on to the next week, aren't you? You don't care about that. That's old news. Let's talk about what now, when now, what's important now, something like that. Was my best coach speak I could do there, Pat.
Hey, I liked it, man. I'm excited. Right. I'm excited. I am ready to go. You look rested. You had a great weekend in Vegas, even though your Raiders fell a little bit short.
Yeah,
I love
that was expected.
Right there in Allegiant Stadium. That was awesome. We look really big time, man. The old Dannelly and Donley podcast.
What I'm trying to do there is maybe I can write that trip off on my taxes now.
There you go.
You know, we were broadcasting live right there from Allegiant. You pay for my tickets. They didn't give me a media pass. No, it won't happen. But I will say before we get into this, I'm one of the few people, Pat, at my age. Well, I shouldn't say probably most people my age. I actually went to Vegas and caught up on sleep. Like we were in bed 9 o'clock local time at night. Sleep until 7:30 in the morning. It was a dream for me, buddy. Like I am completely rested.
You might be the only person that goes to Vegas to catch up on sleep. I've never heard that in my life.
It was fantastic. It was
It's
great.
Not your buddy Pat going to Vegas. I can tell you that much, pal.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for a Tuesday night edition of this show. It's going to be slightly different as Pat and I get into everything here. We're going to kind of roll through the top 25. We're not going to do the breakdown of this game, that game. Here's the yards. But Pat and I actually did watch a lot of football. I was watching football in a brewery on Saturday because, well, there's some pretty good games going on. So we're going to get through this top 25. And, you know, as we get into the top 5 here, Pat, the game that really jumps out at us is that Dort Morningside game. We both had an opportunity to look through this game extensively. Morningside comes away, you know, with that 31-21 victory. And frankly, buddy, I mean, they jumped out 21-0. They looked really good in this game. They forced Dort into some mistakes, and they kind of held on throughout the rest of the game.
No doubt. I mean, Morningside offensively just jumped out. Vertical passing game, big plays, special teams, just played exceptionally well in the beginning part of the early part of the game. 28-7, I think, at half, if I'm not mistaken, which the Dort offensive system is not conducive to play from behind with the option elements. And I thought really in the second half, Dort certainly made a great valiant effort to come back and make it a competitive game, had some big plays themselves, you know, both sides of the football. When you get right down to it, when you're behind in that system, it's hard to pass protect in a passing situation. And I thought Morningside's defense did a great job of pinning their ears back and rushing the passer exceptionally well, playing really good pass defense. You know, having the offensive system of Dort kind of playing out of their rhythm, out of their comfort zone. So, yeah, I thought it was a really good game. Again, the lopsided the first half. A lot of mistakes. You see a lot of mistakes really on both sides. But, you know, Morningside just had big plays to really kind of take things over in the first half and play solid enough in the second half to hold on.
Yeah, Morningside outgains Dort in this ball game, 454-249. Dort pretty even split on the run and the pass there. And like you mentioned, they had to rely on that pass a little bit more early on than what they normally would. And I was super impressed by the defensive line of Morningside. They were at times, Pat, just bringing 3 guys with a little slant, little stunt here and there, and they were getting a lot of pressure into the defender backfield.
When you can drop 8 like Morningside was pretty much exclusively the second half in passing situations and letting those 3 guys get after your passer and doing it successfully, boy, that's about as good as you can have it. So that was definitely the case.
I'm not coming out of this game, you know, beating the Morningside chest saying this team is a title contender, because I saw some things from Morningside that they've got to get cleaned up. when they get into those postseason games. Zach Chevalier, for every great thing that he can do throwing the football, still making some mistakes and getting it to the defenders and maybe throwing into some traffic or anticipating a pass that he's used to being there and not seeing what the coverage is doing and turn the ball over or nearly turning the ball over.
Hit the nail on the head. They're a big RPO team, so they're reading, leverage a defender or numbers in the box. He distributes the ball very, very well, especially in the quick game. And that's kind of their first and second down, short yardage offense. They do exceptionally well. But Morningside has that big play element. They always have in that system. And you can see, hit a couple in the first half. They really force some things in the second, especially. I think we're not there. You hit the nail on the head, Jason. That just, seeing something, is it there? Is it there? He's going to force something into coverage and, create some turnovers. And you got to give credit to Dort. I think Dort's defense is very, very good, Jason. Collectively play hard, run well with the ball, play good pass defense. And I think, Morningside, that system is so good. I mean, again, it's the same system. Morningside, Indiana Wesleyan are identical in what they do. And it's a great college football system. It's very modern. It's good balance run and pass, a lot of RPO. But I thought the defenders defended well. Well, that's a fun one there.
The defenders on defense defended well. There you go.
I just set that on T for myself, didn't I? Anyway, I think Dort's a good football team. I think that, late in the season, that Northwestern Dort game is obviously very, very pivotal for postseason if there's an at-large that gets in. But right now, Morningside's kind of holding, the key to their future here when it comes to winning the GPAC.
Yeah, could be a mess in the GPAC if you get into that game and Dort beats Northwestern. We could be looking at a team that played in last year's national championship with 3 losses in the conference on the outside looking in, because right now, kind of tied with them in the standings in the Great Plains Athletic Conference is Concordia. And Concordia, with only 2 losses to Dort and Morningside, might be the pick selected. But a lot of time, a lot of football in front of us. Hey, another game in this top 5, just want to touch on briefly, Pat, that kind of surprised me a little bit. St. Thomas beating Weber International 45-44. Weber International actually led this game late, 44-31. It was 2 late scores by St. Thomas to give them the victory. They scored with 2:47 left and a $1:15 left to pull this victory out. So maybe St. Thomas losing a little bit of focus. And Weber International is a good team. Don't get me wrong. They play great football in the Sun Conference, but a wake-up call definitely for St. Thomas as they go into a big game this week against Southeastern.
Yeah, as St. Thomas just looking ahead maybe a little bit, loosen the belt buckle a little bit. We've got Weber in. We've got Southeastern, really the last really big test for us in the conference to finish second. And not play a great game. But, you look at the end result, being down like that and having the resolve to come back and win a tight game when it matters. I think St. Thomas is a really good team. We think the world of them, watching them on in games this year, and big contest coming up here against Southeastern.
We move on to the 6 through 10 spots in the NAIA Coaches Top 25. Montana Western handles business. Benedictine started off slow with Missouri Valley, but ended up handling business, and they've got a big game with Mid-American Nazarene that we'll talk about this week. Morningside, we just broke it down. They defeated Dort. They'll get Northwestern this week. We'll talk more about that game in a little bit. And, of course, Northwestern getting the win over Dakota Wesleyan, and MSU Northern getting the win there. Not a lot of big games to talk about. The teams that needed to take care of business in the 6 through 10 spots, they absolutely did, but we saw a little more shakeup once we moved down the ratings here, 11 through 15. Texas Wesleyan, that top game on there, everyone. They beat Wayland Baptist. Score looks fairly pedestrian, 66-35. Texas Wesleyan actually trailed in this game late in the first half, ended up turning on the Jets and coming away with it. But we move on to that number 12 team, who College of Idaho has now fallen in the ratings. This is last week's ratings. We'll get into the NAIA Top 25 here in a little bit. But College of Idaho at home, losing to Carroll College, the first true conference game, because Montana Tech did win at Carroll, but the first true conference game that we've had a matchup like this where the home team has lost. And Carroll College, man, you and I both watched the film. They look pretty good.
Big fan of Carroll College. They're very, very well coached. They execute well offensively. They run well collectively. You're seeing a little glimmer of the Carroll College of the past with a team speed. I'm not believing that was a dynasty. I'm not saying that, but you're seeing that team speed. You're seeing the well executed offensive plan. I mean, it's balanced run and pass. Very, very structured in what they do. I think it's a really well coached team. Just watching it, and they run well. So I mean, you do those things, you got a chance. And you're talking about the best conference in NAIA football, and now you've got to seriously consider Carroll College making a huge push for this thing because they were very impressive.
Yeah, you come into this game and I say, okay, Pat, here's the result. A quarterback's going to throw for 461 yards, 5 touchdowns, throw 1 interception. Which one is it? We're going to lean towards College Idaho, but Jack Perka of Carroll College in this ball game, man, he looked good. He was efficient and crazy. That 461 yards is a Carroll College record with the quarterbacks they've had come through there. That's a heck of a stat for those guys, and he had some weapons out there getting it done for him. I mean, Carroll College looked really good in this game, and they did a lot of things on defense, I think, that confused that high-powered offense that College of Idaho has. But you know, that's what good teams do. They step up, and the Saints have just kind of been waiting in the weeds out there. You know, we forgot about them. Meanwhile, they've just been undefeated in the Frontier Conference, but now they get into their Murderers Row schedule.
Yeah, you can see it last year. And we saw some good things from them last year, and now you see, the system. Perka in a second year really is obviously the starter before that, but this is the second year, and you can see that development, that progression in his game. And they're doing a lot of different ways offensively. It's the big play, then it's a controlled running game and quick passing game. They do things very, very well in their execution level. And like I said, I think their overall team speed is something that you need to pay attention to because, again, you're seeing the Montana Tech rematch coming up here soon. That's huge in playoff implications. It's a big deal. And I tell you what, they are well coached. And they run well enough where they are a viable contender in that league, no doubt.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we know there's probably 4 teams in the Frontier Conference that should make the playoffs. They won't. 3 of them will. If 4 make it, I'm not going to eat my words. I'd love to see it because that league is so strong. But there's going to be 3 that makes it. And any one of those 3, you have to kind of put a little asterisk and say, that's one you got to consider outside chance for a national title. Just
totally agree with you, Jason.
Watching those guys play this year. All right, moving on to, let me get to this back up here. All right, so we got through that. Okay, Georgetown. Georgetown defeats previous number 11 Bethel in a game they just absolutely dominated, Pat. I mean, Bethel did not have much to answer offensively. They couldn't get the ball going with the run, or they couldn't get it going with the run. They really couldn't get it going with the pass. Georgetown got pressure on them. The Tigers didn't do anything offensively that made me go, wow, look at these guys. But they were efficient. Darius Neal carried the ball, scored a bunch of touchdowns. I mean, it's kind of the status quo for what the Tigers have been known for as they got this victory in the Mid-South Conference. And, you know, this might be the last that we're seeing of Bethel as they take quite the tumble after this loss. Yeah,
no doubt. You've always been skeptical, and, you know, you can't go into a game like that and lay an egg. You just can't. Mm-hmm. It's got to be competitive if you want to be in consideration. Back to Georgetown. We had a question, really good question. I think it was maybe last show or the previous, about National Player of the Year. I think the Darius Neal's, the guy like that. Mm-hmm. We talked about the great running backs. I think Darius Neal's got to be in that same discussion. I think he's one we omitted in our discussion. Some of the best players at the running back position in the NAIA. But he, like you said, I mean, he is the bell cow. He is the main guy for the Tigers and is a force, no doubt.
Yeah, 23 carries, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns for him in this game. A heck of a win by the Tigers. They go up against Cumberland's this week. Kind of a game to keep your eye on. Former linebacker, former assistant coach, Shan Housekeeper, is the head coach at Cumberland's. And, you know, Cumberland's has fallen a little bit now. They maybe don't have that postseason contention without getting a bunch of help from the Mid-South Conference. So this game means a lot to them, and they're going to come in with the ears pinned back. So be interested to see how they do in that one. We move on, spots 16 through 20. Already talked about Bethel losing that ball game. Baker handles it. And then we get to number 18, Marion. At home against St. Francis. They lose this one on a late field goal, 31-28. And this was a game, Pat, I know both you and I watched. I wouldn't call it the tale of two halves. You know, I would call it the tale of, you know, maybe the end of a quarter and another quarter. As I was saying before my camera decided to cut out, and I think everything's back here now, it wasn't even a tale of two halves. It was almost a tale of the end of one quarter and then another full quarter, because USF really through the first quarter they didn't provide a lot of resistance to Marion. Marion kind of jumped out, but credit to USF for sticking in it, coming back and coming away with this win.
Yeah, I think it was really a test of their character, where I think maybe even a couple seasons ago, I'm not sure the game ends the way it did. I think you got to really tip your cap to the offensive staff. Josh Kolka is a really good football player at quarterback for USF, the Wayne State transfer. He's been in the conference player of the week. I think this is his third time already this season. I think he's one of the top passers in the country and missed 2 games, not playing the first 2 games of the season. This tells you the production that this young man has. He made some big-time throws down the stretch to make this game, accessible for victory for St. Francis, because, again, they're down 21-7 at one point and being severely outplayed, and came right back into it, made some big plays. The defense was stout enough to get the ball back to the offense. Some big-time catches in the passing game. Dandridge is a kid that made some unbelievable catches in the passing game for St. Francis, and those great footballs thrown by Kolka. So you have to mention, too, he had a lineman touchdown.
Yeah.
Which made the top 5 in SportsCenter's top 5. Jared Almeida, the center, I actually recruited out of North Central High School in Indianapolis. He's a senior captain, great kid. So happy for him. And the only game he's ever beaten Marion is 4 tries. So I was so happy for him that he got to score a touchdown in his final, Franciscan Bowl matchup. So it was pretty cool. And the last second field goal there with 4 seconds left for USF to come out on top. So big time win. First time in 7 years, like I mentioned, Jason, that rivalry game that the Franciscan Bowl trophies heading north to Fort Wayne.
Yeah, I like the stat line. Jared Almeida, 1 catch, 11 yards, touchdown. The catch itself, it was really only about 3 yards, maybe 2 yards off the deflection there, but it still crazy. Counts.
He was kind of drifting downfield, like Hulk kind of flushed out of the pocket. So everybody, if you haven't seen it, first off, either probably searching on X or something like that. It's been on SportsCenter. So Kolka gets flushed out of the pocket to his right, kind of throws it back across. The ball gets tipped twice, then kicked back in the field of play where Jared Almeida, the center, is kind of drifting downfield after Kolka scrambles, bounces right in the breadbasket and just takes it in for about 4 yards away. So, pretty cool play. And it's, great finish for the Cougars.
That's a great win for USF because they are now undefeated, in Mid-States Football Association Midwest League play. This ties them at the top with their opponent that they will have this week, which we'll get to in the next part of the top 25, as St. Francis of Illinois currently sitting undefeated. And really the winner from that game this week, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, they will be the one in the driver's seat in the Mid-States Football Association. The other games that we need to talk about off this one, out of the KCAC, Friends in Evangel and the Cardiac Kids from Wichita, Kansas. They've had a lot of close games, a lot of last-second wins this year, and this was one where they finally got bit. Evangel comes away with a 24-21 victory. They kicked the game-winning field goal with 1 second left. Otherwise, this one was knotted up. Friends actually led this ball game late, 21-14, before giving up a touchdown with 1:50 left to Evangel, and then Evangel was able to get that last-second field goal to get this victory. So now Evangel in the KCAC Kessinger division is in the driver's seat. If they win out, they're going to win that championship. However, they do have a McPherson team in front of them that could cause some resistance and could cause a stir in that conference. So needless to say, Pat, the KCAC still is wide open as ever as we get through the rest of the top 25
there's no
here.
Fear in McPherson.
McPherson.
That's right.
That's right.
Love
See,
that
the things I've taught you on this show.
Love it.
Tremendous. The rest of the top 25, like we mentioned, St. Francis of Illinois, they came away with a relatively easy victory over Judson, 63-12. They'll play. They don't play themselves. I probably should fix that typo. Yeah, Indiana. They play St. Francis, Indiana, not St. Francis, Illinois.
It's confusing. It's confusing. St. Francis versus St. Francis.
Well, I got caught in that very early, like 20-some years ago when I first started picking these games and just, rolling through the entire schedule, picking games. It was one of the years where, honestly, St. Francis, Illinois wasn't very good. And they were playing someone. I can't remember who. And I picked the other team to win, thinking it was Illinois and it was Indiana. And I got messages from the Cougar faithful saying, "What are you doing?" It was like, "Oh, my bad. Wrong St. Francis I was looking at there in that one."
Yeah, I think then St. Francis, Illinois, they were Division II for a long time and came back in, I think, didn't they?
They were Division II for, yeah. Yep. And then came back in and, they've had a good run. And
Tumble tees are a real problem for the Cougars. I'm telling you what, they're, got Got to stop those guys. And Sam being the big one.
It's gonna be a good one. Hey, here's the featured games for the week. We already mentioned it. Northwestern and Morningside. That's going to be a top 10 battle in the Great Plains Athletic Conference. Northwestern has gotten by most of their games this year. With I don't want to say relative ease, with the exception, obviously, of their loss that they had to Concordia. But they get a big test this week, and they have a young quarterback position, entire young quarterback room that they'll get to see how much they've grown up this week, and they'll go up against a Morningside defense that we saw give Dort all sorts of fits this last weekend, Pat.
Yeah, it's a great matchup, and again, I think if Morningside can continue that pass rush while dropping into coverage and making things very, very difficult. That's a good thing for Morningside. I thought they did an exceptional job versus Dort, like we mentioned, and Northwestern. Obviously, some youth at key positions are going to be interesting to see this matchup.
Benedictine goes to Mid-American Nazarene in the Hart Conference. This one is going to be a battle for the Hart South. Both teams are undefeated in conference play. The winner gets the clear line of sight to make it to the NAIA Championship Series as the conference champion. And I say clear line of sight because things can still happen, but they'll be the one that's undefeated because Baker has the loss to Benedictine, and this is Mid-American Nazarene's really first game against a top 25 opponent. They've played, some other teams that have done fairly okay this year, but they're finally going to get an opportunity to say, hey, we belong at our number 12, number 11. We deserve to be a top 10 team. They could prove it at home this week against Benedictine. It will be interesting to see how Mid-American Nazarene, responds to their first real smack in the mouth from a top 25 team in NAIA football.
And they're hosting, which is interesting. I mean, this is going to be, like you just said, you said that eloquently. You really did a great job of saying this is their opportunity. I mean, here it is. I mean, you're hosting a playoff level team, a team that's had success, so much success the last handful of years, and beating a Morningside beginning of the season. Benedictine's a great program, and you have them at home. And this is really going to be a showcase of where you are as a program and where you are, this season in the league. So you hit the nail on the head, and it's going to be a very, very interesting matchup.
Mid-American Nazarene,
Kansas, right? Olathe, Kansas.
Olathe, Kansas, just across the border,
Right.
from Missouri. Mid-American Nazarene, big offensive team, very split on the run and the pass. Statistically, they will be more pass heavy, I think, in this game because Mid-American Nazarene, frankly, has blown the bits out of some teams this year, and they've just ran the ball in the second half. There's a couple games where I don't think they threw a pass in the second half. So statistically, you can look at it and say, oh, they're a 50-50 run-pass team. They're more 60-40, 70-30 towards the pass when they get into games like this. Benedictine has just been trudging right along. They had the big game against Morningside. They turned around. They played Grandview. They beat Baker. So Benedictine battle tested in this one. It'll be a great one in the Hart Conference. And we go to the Sun Conference. We've got St. Thomas at Southeastern. This is a game that really, after we saw Southeastern get a couple non-conference wins earlier in the year, and they're sitting about 3-0, I was saying, gosh, I really wonder what that St. Thomas matchup is going to be like, because that's really a battle for second place and a possible, at-large bid into the postseason. I think the Sun Conference will get 2 in the postseason. I don't know if they'll get 3, and the one that'll get left out is probably the loser of this game.
Absolutely. I think it's very similar to the Mid-American Nazarene situation for Southeastern, where you have a really, really good St. Thomas team coming to your place in that great setting. What a great facility. It's going to be a huge crowd. It's going to be a great environment, great college football game in the NAIA. And you have every opportunity to take care of business and beat a St. Thomas team. If you're legitimate, if the Fire think they are legitimate back into the playoff mix, this is the game they have to win. Like you said, I agree with you. I think 2 get in deservingly. Probably 3 could be an argument. At the same time, I don't think it's going to happen. It's going to be 2. So, like you said, I mean, it's Southeastern. It holds their future in their hands this Saturday.
Yeah, it's just going to be so tough for 3 teams to get in from any league, especially when you've got for sure 2 leagues that probably won't have a team in the top 25 that are going to make it to the postseason, possibly 3, depending on how things shake out throughout the rest of the season. So Southeastern can take a huge step forward. They've got, statistically the best defense in the NAIA going up against one of the most potent offenses in the NAIA. It will be awesome to see how this one shakes out. I'll have my eyes glued not only to this game live, but hopefully some huddle video afterwards.
Absolutely.
And also, we've got Southern Oregon at Carroll College. Southern Oregon having to go to Helena to play this game. I tell you what, Pat, it is going to be one of those just I've been in Helena, Montana when they've had games like this. I've been at Nelson Stadium. Like, I can smell the parking lot and all the things getting cooked up in there. I can hear the students like way off in the distance coming in. Like, this is just going to be one of those awesome late October football.
Yeah.
Actually, November. We're going to be November, aren't
Be
we?
November,
November
yeah.
football games. Yeah.
I don't have those same fond memories because I
You don't.
remember going there and not going well for us. I remember the smells. I remember the crowd. I remember Cotton Eye Joe playing way too much. Oh, day the Cotton Eye Joe, that song all the time. I remember that back in the day all the time. Had to hear that song and I still can't listen to it today. But yeah, there's not a better place in NAIA for a game than Nelson Stadium in Helena, Montana. And we've seen it. I mean, really kind of the first time we've seen the road team go into, opponents' backyard and win a game was this past weekend with Carroll over College of Idaho. Can happen again. Can Southern Oregon make that long trek to Helena and make it happen? Because you're talking about a tough environment. There's no doubt, especially getting into November. That's Montana's big sky weather there, baby. It's going to be probably in the 30s or so, and maybe spitting snow. And there's people up there shooting moose and elk and all kinds of stuff up there on the mountains next to Helena or next to the stadium. I've seen it happen. I saw a herd of mule deer run through town one time, right in front of our bus. Did I tell the story before? I swear.
Yeah. No, you haven't. I don't know if you told it before, but it's like, yeah.
Herd of mule deer right next to the capital of Montana, going to the stadium. I mean, it is rustic and awesome, and there's not a better place in the world. It's awesome.
Hey, we take this opportunity before we get into the rest of the games we want to look at. I do got to bring one thing up here, Pat, to make sure that we still continue to get the access. We've got to say a big thanks to our friends at Huddle. Thank you to Huddle for getting us set up with the ability to have a direct exchange account with NAIA football teams. What that allows coaches to do is send us the video directly. We get the full breakdown of the game. We can hammer through it. And, this weekend, I watched a couple games live on my phone. I've got 5 games that I watched in Huddle. It just makes it so much easier to talk about NAIA football with some degree of knowledge. And we wouldn't have that without our good friends at Huddle and the coaches working with us to get the video. Pat, you're probably like old hat in Huddle, just like it's like you're, it's like you're coming out of retirement. Like, here we go.
I didn't feel that way actually. I'm flipping through it. I've got the scrubber bar going, the iPad. I got the whole thing going.
Really?
Yeah, it does take me back. Yeah, I'm pretty good on it. Of course, I watched hours of it for a lot of years. It is first off, I wish your friends from the University of Nebraska, the guys that invented that concept, online video, easy exchange. Of course, they're gazillionaires now. They sold the thing, I know. But why did we think of that 25 years ago, Jason?
I think
our lives
we did.
a little different today.
I think we did. We just had no concept how to do it.
These guys were video guys at Nebraska, I'm pretty sure, and just came up. They had a good knowledge of probably an Exo system or whatever it was at the time of how to do it. And they came up with this. It's brilliant. I think all of the NAIA, I know all high school football uses it. Most of small colleges do. I mean, it's incredible. And I'm gonna give you a shout out too, my man. You got it done. You get stuff done, brother, because you had a mission to get it done. You did it in 2 days. So you're incredible getting things done and making that happen. All 22 film, which is nothing better for an old coach to watch. And I get to see these great teams with coaches tape. It's awesome.
I won't name him by name because I don't think he would want me to name him by name, but I do have to give a shout out to an ex-high school football coach of mine who, while watching this show live, sent me a text message like, I got a contact at Huddle. Let me see if I can share contact information. Yep, get a hold of this guy. Got a hold of that guy. He got a hold of another guy. We got Huddle. And thank you, Huddle, for all this. I mean, it's the college football the way that it is today couldn't exist without Huddle and everything that they're doing. So enough talking about our sponsor. We're very thankful for them. Please continue to allow us to do it. All right. So we'll get back into the games. That was I think they said I could do a 10-second blurb. They got 3 minutes the first time out. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Into the games. Keep your eye on the one that you were talking about. And I brought up St. Francis versus St. Francis. Sole control of the top of the Mid-States Football Association Midwest to the winner of that game. I put Marion and St. Xavier on here because, like how things typically happen in NAI football, Pat, if the winner of St. Francis and St. Francis is undefeated, obviously they will be, but if they slip up later in the next 2 weeks, then all of a sudden Marion is back into this conversation with only one loss in the conference. So the Mid-States Football Association Midwest Division still very, very open, but somebody can finally take control of it this week.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think St. Francis, Indiana, without question, has to win out. Understood. They've got 2 losses. But what happens after? Let's say, hypothetically, the Cougars win out. They're the automatic bid, right? They'll be in the top 25 by then if that happens. If they win out, St. X is probably out because they're facing each other next week after next on the 9th. So who's the third team that gets in? Obviously, Indiana Wesleyan on the East will get the automatic. St. Francis in the West. Is there another one? Is it St. Francis of Illinois? Is it Marion? That's going to be really interesting, Jason.
It will be very tough for Marion, I feel like, just because they've dropped out of the coaches' top 25. Illinois would have an opportunity, with a loss and winning out, and then some things kind of shaken out. They won't control their destiny anymore.
Right.
But I think if there is another team from that league, the overall league with the 2 divisions, right now, the loser of St. Francis would maybe have the best case. Mm-hmm. But if it's Indiana, it's going to be even tougher. So I'm getting excited just to see how this playoff scenario can all work out.
Again, I'm certainly biased, but it's going to be a great environment in Fort Wayne. Tune into that game. The free live stream, I believe, as well at the university's website. Click on the schedule and take a look at that game. It'll be simulcast with the great Joe Parson, voice the Cougars. That'll be a great game to watch on live stream. Those that want to see it.
Joe Parson, love old Joe Parson.
Whoa, Joe! He's so great. Love him.
Cumberland's is at Georgetown, like we mentioned earlier. Georgetown in control of the Mid-South Conference. Cumberland's with a chance to nip up there and bite them a little bit. And watching Georgetown in several games this year, Pat, they're not invincible. This is a game they've got to go into with a good head on their shoulders, not turn the ball over. Otherwise, we could see chaos in the Mid-South Conference.
Yeah, we highlighted them last week with the Bethel game. I kind of made my statement of the teams. I'm kind of scratching my head. I can't figure out where they are. We talked about Bethel. We talked about Georgetown. College Vito drops another one. We talked about Marion, dropped another game. And Georgetown's one of those teams that we know they're a quality team, but just like we said, tread water so much. Won a big game this last week, on a great Darius Neal performance, and now playing Cumberland's. Their old All-American defensive lineman, who's one of the best players maybe in NAIA history, by the way. Ocean housekeeper. I had to see that guy attack us for 4 years. That was brutal. He's a great player, and now going back home to play his former team. So that's going to be really interesting to see. I think it's going to be a great football game. I know Coach Housekeeper is going to get the Patriots frothing at the mouth to go up north and play Georgetown. So it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I'm completely looking forward to it. I mean, it's just that time of year where, we literally could just point a finger at a conference and say, watch that game. And it's going to be a great, great football game. I mean, I love it. Love NAI football. Love what we're doing here. And, if I wasn't doing this, man, I don't know what I'd be doing. Well, I probably have a lot more free time on the weekends, but who wants that anyway?
Yeah.
KC AC play. McPherson taking on Evangel. They go to Evangel. Both teams are still undefeated in the Kessinger division at 2-0. McPherson is 7-1 overall. McPherson can really muddy the waters of the KC AC and who's going to get that automatic if they get this win, because they will be sitting undefeated in the Kessinger division, and there'll be a bunch of one-loss teams after them. So this is probably McPherson's ticket to the postseason if they win this football game. If they lose, they then fall to 7-2. You've got 2 other teams in the KCAC that would be considered probably for an at-large in front of them in Friends and Southwestern. So if McPherson and the Bulldogs want to make the postseason, they've got to beat the Valor this week down in Springfield, Missouri.
Simple as that. Win, you're in.
Yeah, you can't, it's pretty simple. Hey, you control your own destiny. Not bad. And I know, Pat, you probably don't have the NAIA brain of games quite the way that I do when it comes to the losses and everything like that. McPherson has 1 loss. It was a non-conference loss, but it was to a conference team. Who do you think that loss was to?
I don't remember.
Take a wild guess. If you could guess one team in the KCAC that maybe their record isn't great,
Ottawa?
but they would. No, you're losing up. You're missing the obvious answer. Tabor College and Mike Gardner.
Oh, of course.
Beat them
course,
20 to
Mad
10 the
Scientist.
first week of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, Mad Scientist had all summer. That's why.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mike Gardner, the mad scientist. He had more blitzes and twists and defensive alignments that McPherson has never seen before because he had all summer. Telling you, it's a real thing. Mike Gardner.
Over there in the Bissell division, we don't have what this game highlighted or these games highlighted, but over in the Bissell division where the top two teams are 4-4 and the top two teams are 2-0 in the Bissell division, Kansas Wesleyan is 2-0. We had predicted them to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Also 2-0, Tabor. Tabor with a shot to make it to the NAIA postseason.
Beware of the Blue Jays and Mike Gardner.
There you go. Campbellsville is at Bethel, Tennessee. This is Campbellsville's opportunity to step up, show they've got the second best team in the Mid-South Conference and potentially vie for that at-large bid. They've got to beat Bethel if they want to make it to the postseason. Conversely, the same thing has to happen. If Bethel still wants to have a shot at the postseason, they have to win this game at home and prove that they belong in the NAIA Championship Series. The winner of this game will have a trek in front of them to make the postseason, but they'll still have a chance. The loser, you got 2 weeks left in the season to salvage a great record and enjoy some football, but I don't see you in the postseason.
Jason, I have faith in my Campbellsville Fighting Tigers on the road, baby. Let's go, Tigers.
I
love this team. They're fun. I love them. They lost a tight game against a good team in a rivalry game, the only loss of the season. I think the Tigers win out and get an at-large. That's what I think in the West.
We'd love to see it. I have not, and my plan is to do it this week, is to do a mock NAIA championship series. All right, if everything played out the way it is today, who's in? Because I think, we get a lot of like, oh, they're a team. There's only 7 at-larges. There's 13 conferences that are going to make it in. And if some of these scenarios play out, we could be looking at maybe the number 13 or number 14 team being the last team in the top 20 making it to the postseason because of the teams that are going to automatically qualify.
Since we were just talking about it, how many get in the Mid-South? What do you think? It's tough.
It's really tough because in a way they don't control their own destiny, because the Bissell division will not have a rated team. Even if Kansas Wesleyan or Tabor wins out and they finish up, 6-4, 7-4. I think only 6-4. I think they only got 2 games left in that conference. If they finish up with 6-7 wins, they're not going to be in the top 25.
Right.
The Appalachian Athletic Conference probably won't have a team in the top 25. So that's 2 of your 20 spots right there from your automatics. So now you're losing out on some of those teams that maybe early in the season, like Bethel, who we were thinking, they've got a shot at the postseason. Well, they're rated number 25 in the NAIA top 25. And granted, the thing I like about the NAIA Championship Series this year is, and even last year, just because you're higher rated doesn't mean the National Selection Committee is automatically going to take you in the postseason. They're going to look at a lot of different things. They're going to look at records. They're going to look at the top 25. They're going to look at the ARC ratings. So it's not just a standard like it was previously in the championship series where you could go through the top 25, kick out your automatics, go with the next highest rated teams, and that's who's in. That's not the scenario this year. And we saw that with Otto of Arizona last year, who I think jumped all the way up to number 13 in the ratings, but there were at-larges that got in after them. So to answer your question, Pat, as I talk in circles here.
Yeah, we got it. It's a podcast.
I think the Mid-South only ends up with 1 this year.
Do you? Okay. So basically Campbell's has got to win out, including beating Georgetown, right?
Yeah. I think they now if Campbellsville wins out,
Lose to
if
Lindsey
they win,
Wilson.
if they win out, they've got a shot.
Yeah, I think so.
That's
And Georgetown has the 2 losses to non-conference.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weird deal. I mean, to me, the way I see it is either you have to get the automatic bid. If you lose two games, I think you're almost out of the at large. Correct? Yeah. Almost.
Mm-hmm.
When you start thinking about how it's all going to shake out. If you have two losses and you don't win the automatic qualifier, you're not getting in.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's going to be an exception to the rule, but I can't think of one. Unless it's maybe it's a frontier. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it could be possible there as well. But man, that's going to be a tough shakeout as well. Right now, I think if you go through it, Kaiser has all but wrapped up the Sun Conference.
Sure.
Grandview, another interesting scenario we haven't talked about. Grandview in their half of the Heart, if I recall correctly, I got to look it up now as we're doing this live. Graceland is undefeated in that half of the conference as well. So because of that, if Graceland were to upset Grandview, Graceland then gets the automatic from the Heart, and Grandview takes
good at large. Sure.
So Graceland undefeated, 6-2 right now overall, but 4-0 in the Heart. Grandview undefeated. So Graceland, when they play Grandview, are playing for basically the postseason.
Yeah. It's some crazy stuff. And again, these, I guess, essentially 3 weeks, right? Officially 3 weeks left, right?
3. Yeah. It was 2nd, 9th, and then 16th.
Right.
The 16th is such a weird weekend to still be playing regular season NAIA football.
And then Thanksgiving's the last week of November this year too. So it's a Thursday, and you're in December 1st, I think, on that following Monday. So it's kind of a goofy November. So it's going to be incredibly interesting. A lot of obviously huge implications of this upcoming weekend. A lot happened last weekend, and then continuously the next two. So, it's hard to almost predict because of those at-larges of who's going to be the automatic qualifier in some of those divisions within the leagues. That's going to be, I think that's going to be the big question mark that I have, at least. And again, you're looking at, I just don't see how a 2-loss team, unless you get the qualifier, get in. I just don't see it.
There's very few leagues I look at right now and I say, yep, that's who's got the auto. I think out of the Sooner, it's Texas Wesleyan. I don't think that
good team.
I don't think they've got anybody in front of them that's going to knock them off. Last year is a little different scenario. I think if you said who's absolutely locked up right now, Jason, I'd say Kaiser, Texas Wesleyan.
Grandview, I would say, but there's that Graceland game. I'm with you, but
I'd go 90-10, 80-20.
Yeah.
But the thing, we go back to it. We always talk about Mike Gardner being the mad scientist and all this, but you got Pat Ross at Graceland who took Lindenwood to the national championship. Sure. He's a bit of mad scientist there too. So you can bet your horses. Bet your horses? Is that a phrase? You can bet your. You can bet something. I bet too much, obviously, but you can bet on it that Grandview and Graceland will be a great matchup. Indiana Wesleyan,
sure, they're locked up in the East.
So I'm saying Kaiser, Indiana Wesleyan, and Texas Wesleyan right now. Those three are pretty well locked up. And honestly, who's pretty well locked up as well is the Appalachian. I think it's Pikeville out of there. Pikeville's undefeated, and they don't have anybody in front of them. That's going to keep them out of the postseason.
They were start out 0-4.
Yeah,
they're going to put 6-4 most likely and get the auto.
Yep,
interesting deal. But I tell you what, watching them though, they are a pain for someone. I'm telling you right now, that's not going to be just cakewalk to a 55-7 win. It's not going to be that. I don't think.
If they don't get sent to Kaiser, it would be Kaiser, Indiana Wesleyan.
Yeah, it won't be.
It'll be tough for them, but I'm checking the standings now because again, I hate speaking like an idiot. I do that enough on my own that I try not to do it professionally on here.
This is going to be a fun discussion in the next few weeks, and just how obviously things are going to change. Obviously, weekly results and this happened. Okay, here now this team is now in the driver's seat because this happened. It's kind of a nice little soap opera we get to discuss weekly here for the next couple.
Yeah, Pikeville undefeated 4-0. They play at Point and against St. Andrews at home. So Point could give them some resistance here this Saturday, but they're not going to get it from St. Andrews. I mean, St. Andrews new program, building things there. The Knights have just they're a young football team. They better not. Well, if they do challenge Pikeville, we got bigger problems, I think. So it's I just love this time of year. It gives us the opportunity to talk to so many different coaches and so many different people about what's happening in the world of NAIA football, and I love it. So has that been our NAIA talk, Pat? I mean, are we pretty well wrapped it up? I mean, we didn't go much shorter in our abbreviated portion of this show than what we normally do, but that's what happens when you get two salesmen together talking.
We like to talk. We talk a lot.
We do. We certainly do. We're into overtime. Thanks to everybody for hanging on this long. We don't have much more overtime, but Pat, hockey, everything going great in your world?
Yeah, it's okay. Doing well, learning life lessons, had some struggles with the team and all that, just, playing some really good competition, but it's good. Got a trip planned this weekend. We're going somewhere in the Midwest that has a big university in the town we're going to, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Actually heading to Madison, Wisconsin this weekend. So I'm going to miss St. Francis game, unfortunately, but big tournament this weekend. So heading west of here up to the great city of Wisconsin. Spotted Cow, baby. Spotted Cow. You had the beer?
Buy it by the barrel. Bring it back with you. Can't get it anywhere else. Spotted Cow.
Yeah. Can't get anywhere else. It's tremendous.
So I lived in Minnesota, not far from the Wisconsin border. So I got my fill of Spotted Cow, and it kind of lost a little mystique for me.
I'm sure.
I still like it, but
exclusivity makes things more intriguing. And
it's like when I come your direction and I get Yingling. Everybody looks at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I love Yingling." It's like
I can't say the last time I had a Yingling. I grew up partially, part of my life in the state of Pennsylvania. It was just regular beer, Yeah. But yeah, it's I'm with you. Bourbon barrel beer is rare at certain places too. If you ever had like this Kentucky bourbon barrel beer, that I know my sister used to bring it up, and only get it in Indiana and take it back wherever she lived. She's lived everywhere, but
I've definitely had that. I picked it up on my way through Lexington one time after covering a Georgetown game. For the first time that I had it, I was like, "Oh, this is great." I got it, loved it, and now when I'm down there, I get it, and people look at me like, "Why would you drink that? That's no good." But hey,
it's 11% alcohol too. Yeah, it's like like moonshine.
You can taste the char of the.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. You can chew it, you can eat and drink at the same time, like the old Butte water, as the great Coach Green would say. I say the same about Guinness. It's like you're eating and drinking at the same time. It's a meal and a pint. It's fantastic.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Good Irish heritage, you got to drink Guinness.
I feel like I've recovered from Vegas, and the only thing I feel like I had to recover from, Pat, was the flight. If there's anything I've learned, like uncomfortable seats for 3 hours in a plane do not do this body any good. That was the worst part of it. Not the walking in Vegas. I got plenty of sleep while I was there, because who stays out past 9 o'clock in Vegas? You are crazy people, if you ask me.
That's when I go out.
I'm up
pregame and prior to that.
I'm up at 7. I'm waiting for, like, the places that open for breakfast have me waiting outside, and they're looking at me like, "What are you doing here? Are you just going to bed?" I'm like, "No, I got a tight 8 hours in last night. I'm ready to get myself a double bacon sandwich this morning."
I can't tell you the last time I have 8 hours of sleep. I don't require. I'm a football coach. It's like 4 to 6. I'm good, man.
I can tell you. It was just this last weekend. Previous to that, I couldn't tell you, but it was one of those things where it's like, get caught up on a little sleep.
Most people go to like tranquil spas. They go to like some type of like nature retreat. You go to Vegas to get sleep and rest, relaxation. You're definitely a rare breed, my friend.
I have the constant tone of EDM music just pounding outside of my window all night.
Right? I did see the Bloody Marys though, which looked fantastic.
Very good.
Some Bloody Marys,
Yes, they're fantastic. Did you happen to see who the halftime performer was for the Raiders-Chiefs game this last weekend? Cypress Hill.
Oh, jeez. That's definitely Nebraska style. Insane in the membrane is what that is.
Yeah. So you want to be a rock superstar?
No, I'm good.
So I've been to 3 Raiders. I've been to 3 Raiders games. I can't remember who the halftime. Actually, I do remember now. So I've seen 3 Raiders games. My halftimes have been Santana, Too Short, and Cypress Hill. It's not bad halftime entertainment.
Hey, we're 2 in Oakland and 1 in Vegas. We're all in Vegas.
We're all in Vegas. Never saw the Raiders play in Oakland.
Well, you're not missing much in Oakland, so
yeah,
definitely a good move moving to Vegas. I guess the A's are going to follow suit here soon, and It's kind of weird though, because it's almost like, and I know this is the Golden Knights. I'm a big hockey guy, obviously. It's where all the hockey fans go to see their team play. I mean, you go,
Yep.
obviously, just like, what the Chiefs. I'm sure there's a ton of Chiefs fans there.
Oh yeah.
Kansas City. I know the Pittsburgh fans 2 weeks prior to that was probably 30% Pittsburgh or more. So it turns into like that, that visiting team's home game in a lot of ways. So the Raiders got to get it together to kind of skew that. Because right now, it's just, there's no home field advantage at home.
No,
that's for sure.
No, it's atrocious. It's atrocious. There's way too many
quarterback. I know
Kelsey's
Gardner
jerseys.
Minshew play.
Yeah, it was Minshew.
Minshew, yeah.
Yeah, because Aiden O'Connell broke his hand. He's out 4 to 6 weeks now, and he's 4 to 6, bud. You're 4 to 6, bud.
Yeah, you're 4 to 6, bud. Yeah.
See, each one of us is the most 4 to 6. You're the most 4 to 6iest out of us. That's just more Shoresy reference.
Yeah.
Which, mind you, in case you're wondering, the flight from Fargo to Las Vegas, you can watch the entire third season of Shoresy.
Mm-hmm. There you go. It's a great thing. It's a great thing.
And I did recommend that a couple weeks ago. I hadn't watched it for about 6 months. I'm probably going to back off my recommendation a little bit because some people are going to be super offended by my recommendation to tell you to watch that. So watch at your own risk.
Yeah, it's not for kids. It's for sure. Not for kids.
Just Pat's kids.
No, not even mine. No. I got one hockey player. That's the last thing I need is him to know the stereotypes and all the lingo and all the slang already. So he's going to find out eventually. So we're going to hold off as long as we can.
There you go. Well, hey, anything else from the world of NAI before we wrap this thing up? I know it's midweek. We'll be back Sunday night like normal. And, everything willing, all the teams will continue to send us huddle video so we can break down even more games this coming Sunday. Any other last thoughts, Pat?
No, I just want to again thank you for making it happen with Huddle. Thank you to Huddle. Thank you to the coaches giving us tape. It definitely changes things, especially when we get in this final stretch of the regular season, getting into postseason, be able to watch these games and really break things down. Again, we're talking about a lot of games right now. I think once we get things really streamlined here, as we get down to kind of down to it with playoffs and all that, we can really focus and get more detail in these games. But there's been so many good ones. I think our affiliation's in a great place. I couldn't be happier. I know you feel the same way of watching these games. They're so well coached. These kids play so hard. I think we're in a great place. Huge weekend coming up and excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I'm looking forward to our show this coming Sunday night when Pat and I get to break it down again. 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. It's NAI football with Dannelly and Donley. We will see you next Sunday, folks. Get on out there this weekend. Enjoy some NAIA football, and we will see you in a few more days to break it all down. Thanks, everyone.